Part 22. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 211. The lively atmosphere in the yard was quietly mixed with a bit of weirdness. Sulingan lowered his eyes and concentrated on eating the small dessert handed to him by his classmates, pretending that he was not aware of the glances from around him and from the stage in front of him from time to time. It was still early and everyone was having a great time, so she was too embarrassed to leave now. But she has already made up her mind that as long as someone is ready to leave, she will find an excuse to leave as soon as possible. The accompaniment on the stage continued, and Lin Chan's singing voice was trembling a little, not because of nervousness, but purely from excitement. She knew very well that Hanya had no interest in her and this opportunity was rare. But she was not grateful to Sulingan for giving her the opportunity to sing on the same stage with Hanya, but was just a little complicated. Why should Sulingan not use pretentious words to get someone she can't get? After finishing the song, everyone applauded. Sulingan also clapped along, stood up and was about to find a more remote seat when he saw Lin Chan walking straight towards her after getting off the stage. Lin Chan, who had just taken over the microphone, almost couldn't wait to get on stage. She sang a love song duet with Hanya, who didn't cooperate with her very much. Many people also realized the clues. Lin Chan likes Hanya, but the person Hanya wants to express his feelings to is Sulingan. Sulingan has already bluntly stated that he doesn't like Hanya, and Lin Chan and Sulingan are good friends. It's exciting just thinking about it. Looking at Hanya walking towards Sulingan following Lin Chan, his eyes widened and his ears pricked up, and he began to pay close attention. What will be the next development? Have a drink. Sulingan looked at the beer Lin Chan handed him in front of him, shook his head and did not take it. Sorry, I don't drink. I'm an adult now, it's okay to drink a little. Lin Chan handed it forward again, with a trace of provocation in his eyes. Look, everyone has drunk it. The alcohol content of this beer is not high, and you can't get drunk after 2 sips. Don't you have the courage? Just as the wine glass was about to be brought to her lips, a hand suddenly reached out and took the glass away forcefully. I'll drink it for her. In full view of everyone, Hanya drank a glass of beer in one gulp, frowned and looked at Lin Chan, who had become a little aggressive, and poured the glass. Is it okay? Li Fei blended in with the crowd and blew a loud whistle. The people who surrounded me didn't know if the little nerd was moved or not. The wine she drank earlier had an effect. Lin Chan saw Hanya blatantly defending Sulingan and not saving any face for her. Finally, her eyes couldn't help but turn red. What's the use of your being attentive? It's not like Sulingan doesn't like you. My pleasure. Li Fei whistled twice this time. This is what I mean, domineering. This time the little nerd should be moved, right? Everyone looked at Sulingan without leaving any trace. Teacher Tang, Sulingan turned to look at the head teacher, who hurried over after noticing something was wrong in the atmosphere here. I have something to do early tomorrow morning, so I will go back first. Don't be anxious, the head teacher said quickly to persuade him to stay. You haven't eaten enough yet, don't leave in a hurry. Hanya, Lin Chan, you two, have you forgotten what we are all here for today? Others will talk about it later. Today we all have one task, which is to have fun and eat. We'll have to take a group photo of the class after we've finished eating. As soon as you leave, everyone will be gone. He then protected Sulingan towards the barbecue. Walk over to the shelf, let's go, the teacher will bake something for you. Tell me what you want to eat. Lin Chan turned around and drank the glass of wine in her hand. She burst into tears from the pain and was pulled aside by a female classmate to comfort her. Hanya stood there and watched Sulingan being taken away by Laoban. He frowned and looked at Li Fei, who was approaching him, until he was slapped on the shoulder. Come on, buddy, I think you should give up. You and Lin Chan almost forced the little nerd away just now. Fortunately, Lao Ban came to the rescue. She is shy. Li Fei. He was speechless for a while, then sighed, I have always known that you are very confident, but I didn't expect that you are already overconfident. Brother, let me advise you to take care of yourself. Han Ye glanced at him and walked away. Fortunately, this incident was gone, and the atmosphere in the courtyard quickly returned to liveliness. Just now, the class teacher mentioned the group photo, which made many people want to commemorate this moment. One of them took out their mobile phone openly, and took some friends with them to take photos with various background angles. Although Su Ling'an did not follow the crowd, he was the one who was taken for photos the most. As the only student in the class who can act on the set, when the TV series is broadcast in the future, maybe it will really become a small hit. At that time, these classmates who have a group photo with them will also be quite respectable. Come on, you're all full, I'll take a group photo for you, stand together first. Soon, the group photo was uploaded to the class group. Many people couldn't wait to post on WeChat moments. Lin Chan made up a 9-square grid and looked at Su Ling'an's face that made her jealous in the only photo. After hesitating for a while, she clicked publish. She wanted to mosaic Su Ling'an, but among her friends were all her classmates, unless she blocked them all. After eating and drinking enough, it's time to have fun. There is not only a small stage for singing karaoke in the courtyard, but also board games and billiards tables in the rooms inside the courtyard. You can even watch movies. No one wants to go home so early. Su Ling'an was dragged indoors to watch a movie by several classmates who also liked quietness, but he still couldn't do it for a while. Asterisk. The sound of running water came from the bathroom. Lin Suifei was lying on the bed in her nightgown, waiting for someone to come out, and scrolling through moments boredly. While swiping, I saw the address displayed in the lower left corner of a set of pictures, Minghe Courtyard. She has only been to this place twice, as a female companion. It is one of the top high-end places in the entire imperial capital. Look at the person who posted this circle of friends, note, Lin Chan. She frowned and thought for a while before she remembered that this person seemed to be the daughter of her grandfather's brother's son. They were cousins from their father's generation, and she and Lin Chan could barely be considered cousins. It seems that when this friend came home for the Chinese New Year, the girl came over to join her. But if she remembered correctly, this girl should have just finished her college entrance examination. Moreover, given the family conditions of my uncle and his family, how could they possibly enter Minghe Courtyard? When she thought of this, her finger had already subconsciously clicked on the 9 palaces diagram on the screen. Is this a graduation party? Are the graduation parties of high school students so high-end nowadays? Just when she was about to close the photo where everyone was smiling silly, a face in the middle of the first row suddenly attracted her attention. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 212. Lin Chan, stop drinking, you've drank a lot, what should you do if you're drunk? Lin Chan stretched out her hand to back the cup that was taken away, raised her head and took a sip before shouting, leave me alone. The two people sitting opposite her looked at each other in confusion, and one of them spread his hands helplessly, forget it, don't worry about it, just let her drink if she feels uncomfortable. Didn't Han Ye say that if she doesn't want to go back, there are several bedrooms here, so it's not a big deal for us. Just stay with her for one night. Also good. But before Lin Chan could finish the wine in the glass, she was interrupted again. What interrupted her this time was the mobile phone placed aside. Who is it again? Lin Chan, this is your cousin in the note, please pick it up quickly. Cousin, where did I get my cousin? Lin Chan murmured to herself, but finally took the phone and clicked the call. Hey, who is it? Lin Suifei on the other end of the phone. She suddenly felt that her call was a bit hasty. The voice I heard just now was obviously that of a drunkard. Her cousin looked like she had drunk a lot. However, before she hung up, the other person asked, "Speak." Lin Swafi couldn't help but take a deep breath. "Chan Chan, I am your cousin Swafi. Shwefe." Lin Chan's half-drunk head finally sobered up a bit. "Cousin, why are you looking for me so late? Looks like he's not completely drunk yet." Lin Swafi made a judgment in her mind. "I just saw the moments you posted. Are you holding a graduation dinner in Minghe Courtyard?" "Yes, our classmate borrowed the seniors membership card to get in." Lin Swafi secretly thought it was no wonder. "I just saw your class group photo. Su Ling'an is in the same class as you." Lin Chan was silent for 2 seconds. "Cousin, do you know her too?" "Well, I was on the set of Empress Yuan Zhao 2 days ago." "You didn't know, right? Su Ling'an from your class is filming on this set now." After speaking, Lin Swafi covered the phone and gritted her teeth. "Of course I know." Lin Chan felt extremely depressed. She had a cousin who was a star, and she didn't have the opportunity to go to the crew for filming. Why did Su Ling'an couldn't help but complain in a low voice? "She should be just one, it's a small role, as she is, she probably won't be able to play any important roles." Lin Swafi's heart skipped a beat when she heard this. "Do you have a bad relationship with Su Ling'an?" Lin Chan walked to a secluded corner with her cell phone and sighed. "The person I like wants to confess to her today. It's not because she wants to be a big star when she goes to film. I haven't seen Han yet before I want to confess to Su Ling'an, and I even used her as a bet." "Cousin, what do you think I should do?" Lin Swafi suddenly felt secretly happy. "What else can I do? Of course I'll get the person you like back." After thinking about it, she said excitedly, "How come we in the Lin family have such a cowardly girl like you?" Lin Chan suddenly smelled of alcohol, but luckily she still retained some sense. "I would like to, but how can I rob him?" "Forget it, you are my cousin. Listen carefully to every word I say to you. Not only can you win back the boy you like, but you can also make Su Ling'an unable to film." I'll listen, cousin, please speak quickly." Lin Swafi thought she was a fool, and said softly, "Later, you first." Asterisk. In the room, Su Ling'an took a brightly colored drink from his classmate and asked, "This is it?" "Li Fei made it, I tasted it good, so I brought you a drink. It's just a mix of several drinks, it looks pretty good, try it." Su Ling'an took a sip to make sure there was no alcohol smell, then took another sip and nodded, "It tastes good." Everyone grilled the barbecue by themselves in the evening, and the seasonings were a little too light or too heavy. Su Ling'an was a little salty when he ate it. He was thirsty at the moment, and he drank the drink in his hand one after another. After a while, he was exhausted. Finished. But after drinking too much, he kept thinking about going to the bathroom. After sitting for a while, Su Ling'an got up and asked the classmates next to him about the location of the bathroom, and walked out of the screening room. Lin Chan, who was leaning against the wall and waiting in the corridor, saw her come out. She put the ice pack on her face into her pocket and followed her with light steps against the wall. She watched Su Ling'an go into the bathroom and come out of the bathroom again after a while. He was still walking steadily and couldn't help but clenched his fingers. Did she mismatch the weight of what her cousin taught her? Fortunately, Su Ling'an stumbled suddenly after walking a few steps and held onto a high table in the corridor to keep from falling. She breathed a sigh of relief. After looking around and seeing that no one was paying attention, she stepped forward and held Su Ling'an's arm. "Anan, what's wrong with you?" Su Ling'an felt that he had just been in a trance, and now he was a little sleepy. He quickly shook his head and subconsciously replied, "I'm fine." At the same time, he wanted to take his arm out. Lin Chan tightened her hands and said, "I think you are sleepy. You must be tired from filming on the set during the day. There is a bedroom in front of you where you can rest. I will help you go there and have a rest." Su Ling'an intuitively wanted to turn around and leave, but he couldn't find the strength for some reason, and his head felt heavy. Finally, he was half dragged into a spacious bedroom. The white and soft big bed in front of her was suddenly full of temptation in her eyes. Lin Chan helped her lie down on the bed. When she turned around and was about to leave, she suddenly leaned down and unbuttoned the 3 buttons on Su Ling'an's polo shirt. She pinched the collar and pulled it to both sides, and then pulled the calf-length skirt up. After flicking it up, he put the phone sideways on the table aside and quietly left the room. A few minutes later, she followed the same pattern and led Li Fei, who was half drunk by her without warning, into the bedroom that was only a little hidden. After closing the door, I covered my pounding heart, turned around and left quickly. Li Fei was not so drunk that he was unconscious, otherwise he would not have been able to enter the room by himself. Just as he was about to lie down for a while before going out, he saw Su Ling'an lying on the bed with a frown on his face and looking a little uncomfortable. His first reaction was to find another room to rest, but when his eyes fell on Su Ling'an's pink face, the white and delicate collar buttons at the open neckline, and the fair and slender calves exposed under the skirt, he was only slightly warm at first. My brain was suddenly on fire, and I swallowed uncontrollably. Since they were the only 2 people in the room, Su Ling'an looked drunk, so if he took this opportunity to secretly bully the little nerd, no one would know, right? Su Ling'an was lying unsteadily. Even though her mind was extremely confused at the moment, she still subconsciously felt that the place she was in was not safe, so she had been trying her best to escape from Duke Zhou's invitation. Until she felt her calf being imprisoned by something hot, an alarm bell rang in her mind. For a moment, she even broke away from the invasion of sleep, and tried her best to kick out with her other free calf. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 213. This kick hit Li Fei's chest, who had no idea that she was resisting and was unprepared. Get out of here. Li Fei rubbed his chest and looked at the little nerd who was waving his hands to prevent him from approaching again, and felt a hint of retreat. He didn't want to attract other people in the yard. Especially Han Ye. His buddy doesn't necessarily like this little nerd very much. It would be more accurate to say that he has a desire to conquer and possessiveness. But if you see him bullying the little nerd first, a fight will definitely be inevitable. I thought it was a little white rabbit, but I didn't expect it to be a little wildcat. But he just turned around and left, feeling a little unwilling for some reason. Little nerd, let's talk about it. You can let me bully you for a while, and I'll leave soon. How about that? After Su Ling'an kicked him and shouted a few more times, his strength was exhausted and his voice became softer. Li Fei went over to listen, and then he heard her murmuring that she still told him to get out, and he laughed angrily. Although he has a better temper than Han Ye, his good temper is limited. He stretched out his hand to hold down the little nerd's tangled arms, and then lowered his head to gag her. Ding ding ding, there's a call. Li Fei paused and subconsciously pulled back his hand with a guilty conscience. He saw Su Ling'an fumbled with his eyes closed and took out his mobile phone from his skirt pocket. It is also the latest model of the Pear brand. Didn't Lin Chan say that little nerds don't have mobile phones at all? Just when he was hesitating whether to take the phone away, Su Ling'an fumbled and clicked the connect button, which made Li Fei dare not move for a while. The call was connected and then hung up, possibly due to an accidental slip of the hand, but if you didn't call back quickly, the person on the other side of the phone would definitely notice the problem. Get out of here. Li Fei's expression changed, and it was already too late to it away. Whoever answers the phone will be told to go away. It's not obvious that something is wrong here. Asterisk. The time goes back to 10 minutes ago. In the simple Zen courtyard, the three people who had finished their vegetarian meal were sitting on the porch enjoying the cool while summarizing the information they had collected so far. Ryuju was the first to talk about his findings and conclusions. It has been confirmed that the patterns drawn in the basement of Mei Shuiqing Villa were used for smuggling, and the materials were a mixture of blood and cinnabar. However, the drawing techniques were rough and suspected of being academic. Not good. This method may have been obtained by chance, or there may be a more skilled warlock behind her. After he finished speaking, Shen Yunqing continued to add, one more thing. The assistant named Xiao Tao beside Zhang Ziyu disappeared with Mei Shuiqing, and his whereabouts could not be traced. The person sent to monitor Zhang Ziyu captured Zhang Ziyu called Xiao Tao several times, but no one answered. I also called from a new number, but no one answered. Zhang Lingzi already knew a lot about the current world system. Hearing this, he frowned and said, when a person has been missing for more than 24 hours, can't he call the police? Shen Yunqing nodded, then there is only one explanation. Although Zhang Ziyu wanted to find Xiao Tao, he did not dare to call the police. Zhang Lingzi still had an impression of the chubby little girl who followed Zhang Ziyu and was beaten and scolded. Mei Shuiqing wants to escape. Wouldn't it be more troublesome to take an ordinary person with him? Ryuju and Shen Yunqing looked at each other, and they almost said in unison, then there is only one possibility left, Xiao Tao is still useful to Mei Shuiqing. As soon as he finished speaking, Shen Yunqing stood up and said, I'm going to investigate whether Xiao Tao has any blood relatives. Zhang Lingzi was about to get up too, when she suddenly felt a palpitation in her heart and subconsciously covered her heart. This made Shen Yunqing, who was about to walk into the house, immediately change his expression. He moved faster than his mind and reached out to help the person. What's wrong? Zhang Lingzi looked sideways and happened to see the watch on his wrist. The hour hand was already pointing to 10 o'clock. As expected, Anan and the others have finished their graduation dinner. If they return to the hotel, they will probably call her to tell her that everything is safe. I suddenly felt flustered. Wait for me to make a call. She still wanted to make a phone call to confirm. The call was successfully connected, but before she could speak, she heard the girl muttering something like get away. I am not quite awake when I hear the voice. Anan, have you drank? Where are you now? Su Ling'an heard her sister's stern voice coming from the mobile phone. She suddenly woke up briefly and replied obediently, no, Ming-He. Ming-He what? Zhang Lingzi grabbed Shen Yunqing's wrist and stood up suddenly. Anan? Anan, are you sleepy? You can't sleep now. Ming-He, Shen Yunqing saw Zhang Lingzi's solemn expression and immediately did not dare to delay. I know where it is. Then go quickly. The phone was still open, but there was no movement on the other side. Zhang Lingzi didn't dare to hang up. She grabbed Shen Yunqing's arm and ran towards the courtyard gate. Ryuju looked at the backs of the two people leaving in a hurry, took off his hat and scratched his head. Anan, could it be that the little princess is here too? It shouldn't be. After muttering lowly to himself, he put his hat on his head and chased after him. No, you will know if you have seen him in the past. The black business car sped through the night, like a black phantom. Zhang Lingzi put her phone on speakerphone and listened quietly to the sound coming from the phone. After some identification, I was sure it was a heartbeat. This girl put her cell phone on her chest. Fortunately, she heard no other noise, so she felt a little relieved. Asterisk. In a quiet room. Li Fei tried several times, but couldn't take the phone out of Su Ling'an's hand. No, people who don't know would think you are holding a treasure. As everyone knows, in Su Ling'an's view, this phone was only lent to him by the director, and he had to return it when he left the set. If it is not your own thing, but it is in your own hands, you must protect it. Hence, the more someone wants to take it away, the more she has to protect it so that no one can take it away. Li Fei wiped the sweat from his head, hesitated for a moment, and was ready to go out. He really doesn't dare to do anything now, God knows if the phone has been hung up. He was drunk, but not so drunk that he was not afraid of anything. His hand reached for the door handle. Just as he was about to open the door was suddenly pushed open from the outside. When he saw the dark-faced man standing at the door, he suddenly felt panicked and asked, "Hanya, why are you here?" Hanya didn't say a word, and even pushed Li Fei aside, who was blocking the door. When he saw Su Ling'an curled up on the bed, his clothes a little messy, his pupils suddenly shrank. Turning around, he punched Li Fei in the face with his fist without warning. "What did you do to Anan?" I didn't do anything." Li Fei was beaten until his ears buzzed. He raised his arm to block it and subconsciously retorted, "I just wanted to find a room to rest for a while." Who knew that this room was already there? There's someone here, and I'm about to go out and find another room. Don't fight, didn't you just see me walking to the door? Hanya was about to punch his second fist suddenly. I didn't see Anan, so I asked the classmate who was watching the movie with her. I found her from the bathroom. As he spoke, he pushed Li Fei aside. When he walked to the bed, he saw an increasingly red face buried in the quilt. When did she get drunk? How did I know that? Li Fei blinked. She was like this when I came in. Get out. How about you? I stayed to take care of her. You both get out. The two people who were confronting each other were stunned. Hanya quickly glanced around. Who? Li Fei. Su Ling'an just answered the phone, and it seems that he hasn't hung up yet. The woman's majestic voice came again, I am her sister. The two of them looked at each other and walked towards the door one after another in silence for a moment. As soon as they arrived at the door, they saw Lin Chan walking towards them. The two of them, who were worried about each other, rarely moved in unison and rushed out of the room, then slammed the door behind them. Lin Chan made time to come over to watch a good show and prepared to secretly take her phone away. At the same time, the black business car stopped suddenly and stopped in front of the gate of Minghe Courtyard. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 214. Almost as soon as the car stopped and the people on the car had not gotten off, the gate of Minghe Courtyard opened quickly. A middle-aged woman wearing a cheongsam who still has the charm walked out of the yard. She stepped on a pair of high heels, which made the wind blow under her feet. Zhang Lingzi got out of the car holding her cell phone and saw the other party bowing slightly towards Shen Yunqing. Mr. Shen, I am Lin Kaiyuan, the senior receptionist of Minghe Courtyard. It is an honor to receive you. After finishing speaking, I straightened up and saw another young girl getting out of the car. However, she was worthy of her status as a high-level receptionist. She was stunned for a moment, and her tone remained unchanged when she spoke again. Miss, good evening. You two, please come inside, we have already arranged it in the yard. Zhang Lingzi walked up to her and asked directly, did you receive a group of students attending a graduation dinner in your courtyard today? Lin Kaiyuan was really stunned now, and couldn't even hold back a soft ah. We were in a hurry on the road and couldn't explain clearly. We didn't come here to have a meal or anything else, we just came to pick up the children at home. Fortunately, Lin Kaiyuan's reaction was not slow. He clicked on the tablet he was using for work, used his own permissions, and quickly found relevant information. It is true that a courtyard was booked by a gentleman named Han for a graduation dinner for the younger generation in the family. Sorry, because it was an ordinary courtyard, I just checked and found out. Shen Yunqing knew that Zhang Lingzi would be impatient, so he spoke directly, please lead us there. In fact, it is against the rules to go there directly. The best thing about Minghe Courtyard that attracts the upper class is that it maintains excellent confidentiality, and the courtyards will never disturb each other. If a guest in one courtyard wants to visit a guest in another courtyard, he must first inform the person being visited in advance and get permission before he can go. But at this moment, facing these two distinguished guests who had suddenly arrived with an appointment, No one knew that Lin who had always been a well-rounded person, was uncontrollably nervous underneath his calm appearance. She has reached her current status in Minghe Courtyard, and naturally she no longer receives ordinary VIP guests. After facing those guests with strong auras for a long time, she thinks she has developed a strong heart. The two people in front of her looked much younger than most of the guests she had received before, but as she stood here, she fully understood what the recently retired senior in front of her said to her before leaving Minghe Courtyard. Really powerful people are often introverted and easygoing and good-tempered. But when you really face such people, you will find that you are facing a high mountain, and you, standing at the foot of the mountain, how can you? You can't even see the top of the mountain if you stand on tiptoe, let alone see the inside of the mountain through the surface. This is how she feels now. I also faced two of them at once. Okay, she took a deep breath, please ask the two distinguished guests to come with me. Walking all the way to the outside of the party courtyard, you could hear the excitement inside even before you entered. After Lin Kaiyuan rang the bell on the door, he waited for a while before someone came to open the door. The girl who heard the bell nearest the courtyard door and thought it was a waiter or something coming to deliver something was stunned when she opened the door and saw three people standing outside. You, who are you looking for? We are looking for Su Ling'an. Are you Su Ling'an's classmate? The girl nodded subconsciously, I am. Then she remembered that it was not good to block people at the door, and quickly turned sideways. Please come in, Su Ling'an seems to be watching a movie in the screening room. Thanks. Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing stepped into the courtyard one after another. After they walked into the courtyard, the lively courtyard seemed to have been pressed on the slow play button, and then pressed on the pause button. The noise of the fun first decreased rapidly. In the end, I couldn't hear the volume at all. Everyone's eyes were focused on the two figures who were still walking forward. Tang walked past the students and asked, who are you two? After getting closer, he finally saw the appearance of the person clearly. Old Tang felt a sudden shock in his heart. Not only were the two people who suddenly visited him young and handsome, they also had the strongest momentum he had ever seen in his life. Zhang Lingzi looked at the person who made the noise. Judging from his age, he guessed that he should be the teacher of the students present. However, thinking that Anan was almost bullied here, she couldn't calm down her temper. I am Su Ling'an's sister. It turns out to be Su Ling'an, my classmate's sister. Old Tang suppressed his nervousness and became confused again. Are you two here to take classmate Su Ling'an home? Zhang Lingzi nodded, I called her just now. This girl seems to be drunk. I might as well come over and pick her up. Drunk? Didn't that girl Anan not drink? She even toasted him with soda water before. How did she get drunk? Having a gut feeling that something was wrong here, Old Tang quickly said, let me take you two in. Zhang Lingzi didn't want to waste any more time, so she simply nodded and continued walking towards the front room with Shen Yunqing with clear goals. There were a few classmates in the small screening room, but Su Ling'an was nowhere to be seen. After asking, I found out that the girl went to the bathroom and didn't come out for almost 10 minutes. Tang immediately panicked, not caring that he was going to the women's bathroom later, and hurriedly led the way there. Fortunately, before he reached the bathroom, he saw three people standing at the door of a room in the corridor in front. Lin Chan, Han Ye, Li Fei, have you seen classmate Su Ling'an? The three people were originally confronting each other at the door of the room. Lin Chan hurriedly entered the room to take out her mobile phone, but Li Fei and Han Ye blocked the door and refused to let them in. The three of them had their own secrets, and for a while they became deadlocked. Now being asked this question again by their homeroom teacher, the three of them had no time to react, and their expressions all changed. Old Tang did not expect that there would be any bad blood among his students, but Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing behind him saw their reactions clearly. Zhang Lingzi narrowed her eyes, raised her foot and crossed Old Tang in front of her, and quickly walked to the door of the room blocked by 3 people. Get out of the way. Hanya and Li Fei's expressions changed again. This voice, they had just heard on Su Ling'an's mobile phone a few minutes ago. The key is, how did people find this place in such a short period of time? Hanya thought more deeply. Although it was his first time to come to Minghe Courtyard, he had also heard from his uncle how difficult it was to get into this place. Non-VIP customers were not accepted. He had reserved a location and area several days in advance. They can only be regarded as ordinary yards. How did the 2 people in front of me get in? It's just that before the 3 of them figured this out, when they came to their senses, they found that they had already obediently stepped aside. Zhang Lingzi turned the door handle, ducked in, and closed the door behind her before others could see clearly what was inside the room. Lin Chan, who had just regained consciousness and wanted to follow her in, couldn't help but squeeze the corners of her clothes hard when she saw this. The wine she drank before turned into sweat all over her head. She could only pray silently that her mobile phone was hidden enough. Will be discovered. What are you 3 doing here? While old Tang asked his 3 students with a sullen face, Zhang Lingzi in the room had already walked quickly to the bed, and saw Su Ling'an curled up into a ball, and the 2 hands protecting the phone turned white, showing that she was exerting herself. The clothes on my body were a little messy, but fortunately they were all in good condition, so I finally breathed a sigh of relief. He reached out and brushed the little girl's sweaty hair. Enan. Su Ling'an was resisting the wave of sleepiness when he finally heard a familiar and dependent voice. He tried to open his eyes and looked over. Sister. Zhang Lingzi saw that her eyes could hardly focus, and she was angry and funny for a moment. It's okay, go to sleep. After receiving this instruction, Su Ling'an allowed himself to fall into a deep sleep. The closed door opened again. Zhang Lingzi nodded to Shen Yunqing, who looked over for the first time. Then her eyes fell on the 3 people who were still hesitating to answer the teacher's questions. She identified the boy she had seen on the mobile video before, and her eyes were a little dodgeful. When the ground looked over, he flew up and kicked him over. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 215. No one present expected that Zhang Lingzi would suddenly move his hands, no, his feet. There was a thick carpet in the corridor. Li Fei was kicked and took several steps back before sitting down on the carpet. He covered his chest where he was kicked and screamed in pain. His face turned pale. Lin Chan was so frightened that she screamed. When she saw the raised mobile phone, she suddenly shut up like a duck that was suddenly grabbed by the neck. Zhang Lingzi originally wanted to ask who the phone belonged to, but when she saw her reaction from the corner of her eye, there was no need to ask. Old Tang looked at the 3 silent students, and then at the door that was closed again. He suddenly understood something, and his face turned pale. I'm really sorry, as their teacher, I couldn't discover Su Ling'an. Shen Yunqing interrupted him, with a calm tone and an imperceptible coldness. It's almost 10:30. Teacher, please call the students and go home first. Ah, okay, I'll go right away. Old Tang looked at Hanya, who was standing stiffly, then at Lin Chan, who was looking a little flustered, and finally at Lin Chan, who was sitting on the ground holding her chest and still hadn't recovered for a while. Li Fei hesitated for a moment but said nothing, turned and left. Just when Li Fei was struggling to sit up, Zhang Lingzi stepped back on him again. Are you awake? Li Fei almost spit out a mouthful of blood. Qing, wake up. Zhang Lingzi did not hold back at all for the first time. You should be lucky. Fortunately, Li Fei didn't hear what was said next, but when he met those eyes looking down from above, the overwhelming pressure seemed to be swarming up in an instant, making him forget to even breathe for a moment. It wasn't until he felt the double dull pain of trauma and lack of oxygen in his chest that he was freed from the fear after meeting those eyes. I know I was wrong. This look will make him unforgettable for the rest of his life. The silence outside gradually returned, making the three people left behind increasingly nervous. Lin Chan stared at the mobile phone in Zhang Lingzi's hand, watching her let go of Li Fei and walking towards her, and even thought about turning around and running away. Unlock. No, Lin Chan shook her head subconsciously, gritted her teeth and fought for it, and went straight to grab it. As soon as she saw Li Fei being kicked, she guessed that the video taken on the mobile phone must have been seen. Li Fei might really. But this video must not fall into the hands of others, especially the person in front of me, let alone cousin Shuefei who is still waiting there. Zhang Lingzi wouldn't have had to mess around if she could get it. She looked at the video and the placement of the mobile phone she saw in the room, not to mention that this person named Lin Chan had a criminal record with her. If Lin Chan hadn't designed this crude plan, she would have eaten the phone. Why are you panicking? This is my phone. Lin Chan was sweating profusely while trying to grab it, but she couldn't even touch the phone, so she yelled in a hurry. Why is your phone in the room behind me? In spite of the looks that Li Fei and Han Ye were looking at, can't I put my phone in to charge it? Oh, turn on the video to charge. The little alcohol left in Li Fei's stomach has long been gone after the kick just now. Hearing this conversation again, there is nothing he doesn't understand. He didn't dare to glare at Zhang Lingzi who kicked him, nor did he dare to glare at the man who was guarding the entrance of the corridor but didn't let anyone in. He only glared hard at Lin Chan, who was in a state of embarrassment and was no better than him. You set me up. Lin Chan couldn't care less about him who couldn't get up yet. She was still thinking about her mobile phone. Just when Zhang Lingzi was about to press her hand to unlock it, the phone in her hand suddenly rang. Lin Chan's heart suddenly pounded. When Zhang Lingzi looked at the screen of her phone, she couldn't help shouting, "No answer." Cousin Shuefei, is Lin Shuefei your cousin? Zhang Lingzi didn't expect Lin Chan to answer obediently. She only needed to see the girl's reaction to know the answer. How could you, a little girl who just graduated from high school, come up with such a plan? It turns out there is someone behind the plan, Zhang Lingzi said as she clicked on the connect button and then on the release button. A woman's voice came from the phone. How are you? Is everything going well? Lin Chan wanted to shout to remind her cousin to hang up the phone quickly, but as soon as she opened her mouth, she was stopped by Han, who was standing quietly aside. Ye covered his mouth. Such an intimate contact would have made her happy to death on other occasions, but now, she was filled with despair. In the silence, Zhang Lingzi hummed at the phone. The other side said again, "It's so quiet. The dinner party is over. Have you finished shooting the video? Send it to me as soon as possible and delete it from your phone. This way Su Ling'an will have no evidence even if he suspects you afterwards. She can only suffer the consequences of being dumb. It's a good idea. It seems that you have been very free since you terminated your contract with the crew." Zhang Lingzi did not hide her voice this time, and after a few seconds, the call was hung up. You two are indeed sisters. Zhang Lingzi looked at Lin Chan who collapsed on the ground after being let go by Han Ye, and mocked softly, then turned to look at the door behind her. She thought it was just the jealousy among the little girls and impulsiveness, but she didn't expect Lin Shuefei to be involved. Lin Shuefei is so unwilling to leave the crew, she will definitely pay attention to who will replace her, but I don't know how she found this opportunity. But no matter what, Su Ling'an's unreasonable disaster was partly caused by her. Well, all the other students have left. Old Tang cooperated with Lin Kaiyuan and sent all the students away on the grounds that there was a problem in the courtyard and needed temporary maintenance. After he hesitated for a while, he followed Lin Kaiyuan in. Seeing Lin Chan also falling to the ground in despair, the last trace of luck in her heart disappeared. He even hated the fact that iron cannot become steel. You guys, you are so confused. Lin Kaiyuan was quite calm when she saw the scene in the corridor. After all, she had seen much more of the world than old Tang, a homeroom teacher. She could almost guess the general context without asking too many questions. She looked at the top guest who was standing at the entrance of the corridor. While arranging the formation for the girl in front of her who was killing everyone, she could also remotely command her to help evacuate the students and call her over. Mr. Shen, from the courtyard here to the courtyard the door should be well arranged and all surveillance systems have been closed. It is guaranteed that no one will pass by within half an hour. If you have any other instructions, please feel free to ask. Hanya couldn't help but look over when he heard this. His eyes inadvertently glanced at Lin Kaiyuan's badge on his chest, and a look of horror flashed across his face. He just realized that he might have kicked the iron plate, but now, the person who can make Minghe Yard cooperate so well must be a steel plate, and it is super thick. If I originally wanted to defend myself by saying that I didn't do anything, I couldn't do it now. His excuses are of no use unless these two are willing to let him go. Shen Yunqing looked at Zhang Lingzi first. Zhang Lingzi nodded lightly at him. Shen Yunqing then entered the side room, and when he came out, there was a sleeping Su Ling'an in his arms. Lin Kaiyuan saw this and said, "I will lead the way for Mr. Shen." Zhang Lingzi waved her hand, "Go back to the car and wait for me." After Shen Yunqing walked some distance away, he could still hear the remorseful confession of the three children behind him, which was exactly as he expected. After all, it is His Majesty's consistent style to avoid future troubles. In the corridor, Zhang Lingzi put away her mobile phone that had taken 3 videos in a row. She looked at the 3 people in front of her who were suppressed by force. Finally, she stopped at Hanye's face and said, "Go bring a basin of water." Although Hanye didn't understand why, he still got up and obeyed. He didn't dare to take the opportunity to slip away. Since the man in Cheongsam just said that, he didn't dare to say that he could get out of the courtyard gate. Putting the full basin of water on the ground, Zhang Lingzi put the cell phone belonging to Lin Chan directly into the water in front of the 3 of them. She watched it bubble a few times and then sink to the bottom. If your phone falls into the water, it won't work, right? Looking at the mobile phone she had just bought with the New Year's money she had saved, the screen would turn black due to water damage. Lin Chan controlled her teeth that couldn't help but want to fight. She was about to shake her head, but then thought about what she had just done in front of the camera. Wan was forced to confess everything she had done. She endured her heartache and nodded obediently, "Yes, no, I can't have it anymore." "Then I'll take it away for you, you're welcome. By the way, you can also remind your cousin and ask her to wait for me." This time, she was really angry. As for the 3 in front of her, especially Lin Chan who almost succeeded in her scheme, she will let this girl know that if she does such a thing, she will lose more than just a mobile phone. The lesson learned this time will be something they will remember for life. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 216. With Lin Kaiyuan leading the way, Shen Yunqing led Su Ling'an out of the gate of Minghe courtyard without any hindrance, without seeing a single person. A dark figure stood beside the car. Seeing him coming out, he reached out and opened the car door behind him. "Your Majesty, where is Miss Zhang?" "At the end of the day." Wuja nodded and looked into Shen Yunqing's arms. "Are you still asleep?" "Well, she must be drunk. I'll put her in the car and you can check her pulse." "Good." When we got to the car, Wuja took the little girl's thin wrist and felt her pulse. Through the light on the ceiling, his eyes fell on the little girl's face. The somewhat sparse eyebrows were raised slightly and unnoticeably. Shen Yunqing waited for him to let go of his hand. "How about it?" "There's nothing wrong with it. I probably drank a high concentration wine by accident. I'll be fine after a good sleep." "You keep an eye on her in the car," Shen Yunqing said, turning around and getting out of the car, looking at Lin Kaiyuan who was standing quietly outside without leaving. I hope there will be no one else except the person involved in what happened today get any unfavorable recordings, images, and other information. Lin Kaiyuan was well prepared, and neatly reached out and handed over a USB flash drive with the word Minghe engraved on it. This is the surveillance of all the public areas in the yard just now. After the backup is completed, the original surveillance has been deleted. Please ask Mr. Shen. Don't worry, Minghe Courtyard will never want to lose a valued guest like you. Shen Yunqing took the USB flash drive and said, "Thank you. Happy to serve you." Asterisk. In the corridor. Watching the figure that frightened them disappear from sight, the three of them dared to move their bodies slightly. Lin Chan shook her hands and smoothed down her already messy hair. Without the obstruction of hair, she met two pairs of bloodshot eyes staring straight at her. She couldn't help but shiver. I'm going back first." After saying that, he struggled to get up and escape. Ah! The calf that was about to stand up was suddenly grabbed by a hand and pulled back hard. Lin Chan screamed and fell back. She turned around and saw Li Fei with a fierce expression and white teeth. "What are you doing?" Li Fei grabbed Lin Chan's calf with one hand to prevent her from escaping, and covered his chest with the other hand. He endured the severe pain from his chest and gradually moved from a sitting position to a half-kneeling position. "Why run? I still have to run. I didn't have time to settle the score with you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to bear this kick, and I wouldn't have been forced to make such a video. You made me so miserable, and you just wanted to run away. How can there be such a good thing in the world?" There was an obvious difference in physical strength between boys and girls. Even though Li Fei was injured, Lin Chan struggled a few times but still couldn't get away. She had to cry and defend. "I was also forced to take a video. I spent more than 3,000 yuan. The mobile phone I just bought is gone. Besides, don't think that I don't know that you are also interested in Su Ling'an. I secretly looked at her several times today. I just wanted to help you." Who would have thought that Tu Chenyajin would show up halfway? Li Fei tightened his grip on Lin Chan's calf and subconsciously looked at Han Ye, who was unusually silent. "However, I don't know what this person is thinking, but there is no reaction at all." He felt relieved and said coldly to Lin Chan, "You are talking nonsense. Who cares about that little nerd?" "Then why did you get kicked just now?" Lin Chan simply broke the jar and sneered, "If you did nothing in the room, would you get kicked?" "I drank wine and thought the little nerd was my goddess, can't I?" Lin Chan was about to continue to retort when a low growl came from beside her. "Shut up." Han Ye looked at the two people who were already fighting each other. He stood up with a splitting headache and said condescendingly, "Get out." He had never thought that the two people in front of him would be such an eyesore. If he watched them continue to argue, he would be unable to suppress it. My heart was violent. Li Fei wanted to say something else, but he stopped talking after seeing Han Ye's expression. He glared at Lin Chan fiercely and said, "Take me to the hospital. I want to see the injury." Lin Chan was reluctant. She had a hunch that Li Fei would ask her to pay the medical bills when she got to the hospital. She doesn't even have her mobile phone now, so she has no money to pay for medical expenses. Is it that serious? Li Fei simply lifted up the hem of his shirt. Just as Lin Chan was about to turn her head to avoid it, she caught sight of it from the corner of her eye and couldn't help but let out a slight hiss. Su Ling'an's sister looked thin. She originally thought that Li Fei took several steps back after receiving the kick because he was drunk. But now looking at the complete footprints on Li Fei's chest that had turned purple, she was not so sure. Li Fei put down his shirt, stood up, put his hand on Lin Chan's shoulder as support, and took a breath. "Thank you, my ribs may be broken. Not only do you have to pay the medical bills, but before I leave the hospital, you have to stay in the hospital and take care of me." But his anger is not easy to calm down. Not only did he not take advantage of it today, he was also injured. Lin Chan was waiting to be tortured by him while taking care of him in the hospital. "It's not finished until you take this breath." Han Ye stood there and watched Li Fei and Lin Chan disappear from his sight. He hesitated for a moment and then dialed the phone to his uncle. "Uncle, do you know that there is a VIP guest named Mr. Shen in Minghe Courtyard?" "Mr. Shen, no impression, is your class's dinner party over?" "Well, I will return the membership card to you when I go back tomorrow if you think about it again. Is it really true? By the way, the name of the staff member who received Mr. Shen is Lin Kaiyuan, a senior receptionist." "Senior, surnamed Lin, is he wearing a cheongsam, about 30 years old?" Hearing that the voice from the microphone was speaking much faster, Han's his sank. "That's right. The guests who can trouble this Ms. Lin to receive should be the initial members of Minghe Courtyard. I heard that there are no more than 10 in total, and there is no membership fee. They are given by the boss behind Minghe Courtyard. You met that person there? Mr. Shen? Didn't you hit the other party?" "No," Han Ye tried to make his voice lighter, "I just saw it by chance and was a little curious." "Then you are luckier than me, your uncle. I have been there so many times and I have never met the original members of Minghe Courtyard. It's getting late, uncle, please go to bed early." Hang up the phone, Han Ye looked at the empty yard in front of him, took a deep breath and left quickly. Today, he finally saw what it means that there is heaven outside the sky and there are people outside the world. Fortunately, there were Li Fei, Lin Chan, and Lin Chan's cousin named Lin Sui who accompanied him through all this. Of these three people, one takes advantage of others' danger, one is shallow and stupid, and the other is vicious. Now Li Fei and Lin Chan have been taught a lesson, but Lin Sui has not yet. Han Ye had an inexplicable hunch that this matter would not be settled like this. Fortunately, he didn't really do anything to Su Ling'an, which was the only thing that made him feel lucky now. But those two pairs of eyes that seemed to see through him at a glance would probably become his nightmare during this period. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 217. After quickly ending the call, Lin Sui subconsciously stuffed her phone under the pillow, lay on the bed and began to daze. Chen Rui came in from the outside with 2 glasses of red wine. He expected to see a little kitten greeting him warmly. Seeing her like this, he felt a little unhappy. After walking over, he put one of the wine glasses on her face and said, "Why, this are you just trying to deal with me?" Lin Sui couldn't help but shudder at the coldness on the wine glass. She suddenly came back to her senses and quickly reached out to take it. "How could it be? I was thinking about something just now." Chen Rui clinked glasses with her and asked casually, "What's the matter? Tell me." Lin Sui quickly brainstormed, didn't I terminate my contract with the crew of Empress Yuan Zhao 2 days ago? In just 2 days, the crew has found a new actor. Thinking of the eve of the filming of the crew, I spent so much time and effort doing all kinds of training, and in the end, I felt a little uncomfortable." Chen Rui took a sip of red wine and didn't care about it. "It's just a female lead role. If it's gone, it's gone. What's the big deal?" Lin Sui couldn't help but roll her eyes in her heart. This was said so lightly. For people like you who don't feel bad at all for squandering the money earned by your elders, the role of a female lead is indeed insignificant, and the entire salary is not enough for you to buy your favorite sports car. But for her, it was a real missed opportunity to gain greater fame. How could she be happy about it? "But my other work has basically stopped." She also understood what her manager meant. She wanted to leave the audience and fans for a while, and then return to the public eye after the character collapse was almost forgotten. But she only felt panic. The entertainment industry was changing with each passing day, and countless new people were trying to emerge every day. When she left for a while, how many viewers and fans would still remember her? Lin Sui looked at Chen Rui eagerly as she spoke. She has no objection at all to bringing capital into the group, provided that someone is willing to help her provide that capital. but the eye contact and brain circuits between the two at this moment were obviously not aligned. Chen Rui squinted his eyes and said with a smile, "It's just right. I used to always say you were busy when I asked you to come and accompany me, but now you finally have time to accompany me." Lin Suifei. She almost vomited a mouthful of blood. Although by Chen Rui's side, I can swipe my credit card casually, and I can change brand name bags, clothes, and jewelry every now and then, but in the end these things are all empty. As long as Chen Rui gets tired of her, all the gifts will be taken back. These things never really belong to her. But if I never have a job, the audience and fans will forget about me. Lin Suifei reached out and rubbed circles on Chen Rui's chest with her index finger. "Didn't you say that you like to see me shine on the screen? Looks like 10,000 feet. Chen Rui caught her hand that was making trouble in his heart. He was quite satisfied with the little girlfriend in front of him. He had also watched the movie made by Lin Suifei before he spent some effort to pick such a small white flower into his hand. Without the aura of a star, the little white flowers in front of you would indeed lose a lot of color. He knew what Lin Suifei meant, but my family has always been involved in industry, and I have never made any investment in film and television before. The film and television industry is so popular now, and the rate of return is much higher than that of the industry. You have to give it a try." Chen Rui shook the wine glass in his hand and fell into deep thought. Naturally, he knew what Lin Suifei said. Some of the people he knew had gone to the entertainment industry to start a successful business. Xiao Yifeng was a successful example among the second generation of them. But if he goes to do it, what if he loses the money? His parents will definitely give him a mixed doubles match, and he will be laughed at in the second generation circle. He will lose the face of Mr. Chen. Withdrawing the arm that was being swung around, please wait for me to think about it." Lin Suifei also knew that this matter could not be accomplished overnight, and it would be counterproductive if pushed too hard, so she nodded empathetically. By the way, the pillow that was pushed aside revealed the mobile phone that was originally placed underneath. Lin Suifei's hand holding the wine glass tightened and she asked in a nonchalant tone, "Do you have a membership card for Minghe Courtyard?" Minghe Courtyard, Chen Rui thought for a while before remembering where it was. He frowned and shook his head. "I don't have it, my dad does." If he remembered correctly, Xiao Yifeng was the only one among his peers who had such a picture. Membership cards for Minghe Courtyard require not only money, but also a certain status and popularity. He is not lacking in the former, but he has not been favored by Minghe Court yet for the latter. "Only people with my dad's status can get the membership card of that place." He explained why he didn't have one. "Why do you suddenly ask about this?" "No, it's nothing." To avoid losing her composure, Lin Suifei quickly took a sip of red wine, drinking so quickly that she almost choked. Even Chen Rui doesn't have a membership card for Minghe Courtyard, and only his father's identity can enter. Then how did Zhang Lingzi get in just now? Is it possible that Zhang Lingzi has a membership card for Minghe Courtyard? This speculation was subconsciously denied by her almost as soon as it appeared. Zhang Lingzi, why? But how to explain that Zhang Lingzi entered Minghe's courtyard, took Lin Chan's mobile phone and answered her voice. Before she could figure it all out, the wine glass in her hand was taken away. "Okay, it's getting late. I'll figure out a way to deal with your work. The premise is that you also have to make me happy." Asterisk. Zhang Lingzi came out of Minghe Courtyard and saw Shen Yunqing waiting for her at the gate. The two looked at each other under the dim yellow light, and there was no need to say anything. Zhang Lingzi got into the car, and Shen Yunqing followed closely behind and closed the door. Liuzhu was originally guarding Su Ling'an and took a look at her face. Sensing a very oppressive aura approaching, he sat back without even raising his head. "Miss Zhang." Zhang Lingzi sat down and turned to look at him. "I just checked Miss Su's pulse in the car except for accidentally consuming some high alcoholic drinks. There is nothing wrong with her. She should be able to wake up early tomorrow morning." Zhang Lingzi's face suddenly softened visibly. Thank you very much. Liuju blinked at Shen Yunqing and said, Miss Zhang, you're too polite. It's just a little effort. So, is the matter inside considered resolved? Given His Majesty's consistent style in his previous life, he thought that the other party would never spare the students involved. But how long has it been since Shen Yunqing came out? Has His Majesty already solved everything? Those inside are nothing to worry about. Zhang Lingzi was sure that Li Fei and Lin Chan would bite each other after she left. As for Han Ye, although he was the trigger and had thoughts about Anan, he didn't do anything. It's enough to teach you a lesson, the most critical thing is not inside. At the moment, in addition to filming step by step and continuing to investigate Mei Shuiqing and the people behind her, she also has to think carefully about what kind of gift she should give Lin Suifei in return to be worthy of tonight's painstaking calculation. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, X. Press 11. Chapter 218. The sky is slightly bright in the morning. Even though it's summer, Zhang Lingzi still doesn't use the air conditioner very much. When going to bed at night, just put a small fan in the bedroom and open half of the window. But this ventilation is enough, but there are always messy noises outside the window early in the morning. Fortunately, she gets up very early every day, so she doesn't feel too noisy. But before there was any sound outside the window today, at a time when only the hotel service staff started working, there was a knock on her bedroom door. Getting up and straightening her wrinkled pajamas, Zhang Lingzi pulled on her slippers and walked over to open the door. Before she could see clearly who was standing outside the door, she was hugged. Looking down, she saw that Su Ling'an had long, messy hair that had not been taken care of. He was still wearing the milky white yellow duck pajamas that she and Lu Zhengzheng helped change into after they came back last night. Wake up so early. Since officially signing the contract with the crew, as the fourth female lead, Su Ling'an also has a separate room. However, she didn't send him back to her room last night and let Su Ling'an sleep in Lu Zhengzheng's room next door. Sister, sister, sister. Su Ling'an buried her head in Zhang Lingzi's chest and shouted 3 times in a row, her voice trembling from the beginning to slowly calming down. She fell into a deep sleep one night because of the glass of wine that was mistaken for a drink, but when she opened her eyes this morning, everything that happened last night seemed to be poured into her mind instantly. The feeling of being powerless when she was dizzy and drunk, when she sensed something was wrong, when she was taken to the room, and when she faced Li Fei's bullying of her, and how hard she resisted when Li Fei bullied her. When she received a call from her sister, she tried to keep herself awake and waited for her sister to come over, until she finally heard her voice. After that, she couldn't see or hear anything. Zhang Lingzi patted Su Ling'an's back, which was still shaking uncontrollably. It's okay. Some people will forget what they did after being drunk when they wake up, commonly known as fragments, while others will clearly remember everything that happened before. Looking at this girl's current reaction, it is undoubtedly the latter. After a while, Su Ling'an held a cup of freshly brewed fruit tea in his hand, sat on the sofa and took a sip. Zhang Lingzi sat across from her, thinking that since this girl had remembered what happened, she might as well just tell the story of the incident that happened in Minghe's yard yesterday while listening to the increasingly chaotic sounds outside the half-open window. Fan. Speaking of which, I also bear part of the responsibility. How can you blame sister? Su Ling'an frowned and quickly shook his head to retort, it's because those people have evil hearts and have bad intentions. What does it have to do with sister? After this experience, you have remembered the lesson, right? Su Ling'an looked at the steam rising from the cup in front of him, his eyebrows dimmed a little. I thought that if the head teacher was here, nothing would happen. I didn't expect. She couldn't continue what she said. Ever since she knew that Lin Chan was not really friends with her and had some small thoughts of her own, although she alienated Lin Chan, she never thought that Lin Chan could do such a bad thing. The calculation comes. So after this incident, Zhang Lingzi stretched out her hand and tapped the center of Su Lingan's eyebrows. You will gain wisdom by eating every bite. Remember these 4 words, people's hearts are unpredictable. Also, in the future, don't drink food handed to you by others in public places. Drink, especially with unfamiliar people. Su Lingan nodded quickly like a chicken pecking at rice, and raised his hand to touch the slightly cool eyebrows. This time, she really remembered it. That kick you gave Li Fei, was it serious? This kick made her feel quite relieved, but she was afraid of getting her sister into trouble. The ribs are not broken, but it will only hurt for a few days at most. Also, the footprints on my chest may remain for the whole summer vacation. If it were her original body, she wouldn't be so light. Su Lingan is starry-eyed. Sounds a bit cruel, but so loving. Even if this matter is over, your next task is to film seriously on the set. Zhang Lingzi met the little girl's shining eyes, coughed slightly and stood up. I'm going to wash up. She was not going to let Su Lingan know about Lin Suifei's plan to retaliate. Little girls should take filming seriously, and then put on their school bags and go to school happily when school starts. Asterisk. Last night, Shen Yunqing and his friend named Ji Wuja sent them to the hotel and left. When Zhang Lingzi and Su Lingan rushed to the dressing room of the crew early in the morning, they saw Shen Yunqing, who had taken the time to come over for filming today. Waved his hand and said hello, good morning. Morning, Shen Yunqing nodded slightly and glanced at Su Lingan, who was standing behind Zhang Lingzi. Su Lingan showed his head and waved his little hand. Sister, no, good morning, Mr. Shen. After saying hello, Zhang Lingzi turned around and was about to enter the dressing room. I heard Shen Yunqing's voice coming from behind me, let's have a meal together at noon. She turned around and met the man's eyes, okay. Having a meal at noon means that you have something to talk about, so you will naturally have to eat it. Having done her makeup, Wei Minmin came in a hurry, sat down at the dressing table, stretched out her hand, and the assistant who was following behind handed her a cup of coffee. Took a big sip and breathed a sigh of relief. Phew, I'm finally alive. Zhang Lingzi held up the hair crown that had not yet been fixed on her head. She glanced sideways and saw 2 light dark circles on Wei Minmin's face. Did you stay up late last night? Don't mention it. Last night, my manager temporarily informed me that I was going to do a live broadcast as a benefit for my 30 million fans, so I went to live broadcast. While chatting, someone invited me to play games, so I temporarily opened a small account to live broadcast and play games. Zhang Lingzi, yeah, but what are the fan benefits? Sister 11, you don't even know this, Wei Minmin blurted out, and suddenly thought of Zhang Lingzi's account with more negative fans than serious fans. Well, this, how should I put it, in short, I don't know who started it. The first thing is that when the number of fans on an account reaches an integer like 1 million, 5 million, or 10 million, the celebrity himself will find a way to interact with his fans, like me, who can't get away from announcements. We do live broadcasts, chatting with fans on the live broadcasts, and we also hold offline meetings. We randomly select some more active and senior fans to meet and sign autographs. In short, it is a two-way relationship between celebrities and fans. Give something back. Understood. After changing into the costume she was going to wear today, Zhang Lingzi picked up her mobile phone on the dressing table. While she still had some free time, she logged into her account. The latest news was the forwarded promotional photo of Empress Yuan Zhao. She remembered that Lu Zhengzheng did it for her. Because she was attending the Power On ceremony at the time. Moving his eyes below the account name, he saw a row of small numbers. 3.026 million fans, 56 followers. You don't know if you don't look at it, but at first glance, it's almost 10 times worse. This gave her a clearer understanding of her own fame. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 219. Chapter 219 Emperor Yuan Zhao of Flesh and Blood. On the straight and spacious corridor of Yinhe Palace, a girl wearing light-colored palace clothes and elegant makeup was leading 4 palace ladies in identical costumes into the back hall of Xiaoming Palace with light but steady steps. Emperor Yuan Zhao, who was dozing behind the desk, woke up when he heard the announcement. He raised his eyes and saw his young girl holding up her skirt and crossing the threshold, walking towards him with a smile. Jinan has met the emperor's sister. The emperor's sister stayed up late last night to deal with government affairs. How can her body bear the burden if she continues to work so hard? Facing that little face with a smile full of concern and dissatisfaction, Zhang Lingzi felt as if she was in another world for a moment. It should be said that the script of Empress Yuan Zhao was greatly changed by her before the filming started. Not to mention other people's roles, the lines of the people she knew and valued around her were basically changed due to her selfishness. The ones I had actually heard. In addition, the person playing Jinan is no longer Lin Suifei but Su Ling'an. In front of her is a pair of expressive eyes that are very similar to those of the younger sister. This time, she is substituted into the memory. Naturally, he opened his mouth and said comfortingly, "It doesn't matter, if you feel uncomfortable, I won't be brave." Then his voice changed, "It's you, I heard that you want to compile a collection of essays, but you can't sleep and forget about eating and sleeping for it, otherwise I won't allow it." Jinan has remembered Sister Wang's advice: when the anthology is completed, can Sister Huang write an inscription and postscript for me? As it should be. There are only 2 sisters in the elegant and solemn palace. Naturally, no one knows that these 2 sisters, the most noble in the world, can be so close when they get along in private. Wei Xiao sat in front of the monitor and looked at the picture displayed on the monitor. In his original script for this scene, there should still be several maids standing in the palace, and the conversation between Emperor Yuan Zhao and Princess Jinan would be more official. After all, the imperial sister is already the emperor. Except for the filial queen mother, everyone else can be called ministers, including brothers, sisters, and descendants. They must respect the emperor more than love. But at this moment, after Zhang Lingzi changed the scene, watching the Emperor Yuan Zhao played by Zhang Lingzi on the monitor, his eyebrows and eyes seemed to be subconsciously relaxed when he treated his younger sister, Princess Jinan, and Wei Xiao felt a little more enlightened. Emperors are also human beings, they also have flesh and blood, they also need the care of their relatives, and they also want to relax when facing those close to them. He admitted that he had a filter for Emperor Yuan Zhao, otherwise he would not have spent so long preparing such a script. But in his previous scripts, Emperor Yuan Zhao was vaguely deified. But the interpretation after the changes now makes people feel more real. On the one hand, the effect presented was surprising. What also surprised him was Su Ling'an's performance. Wei Xiao originally thought that Su Ling'an, a girl who had become a monk halfway, had no acting experience, and there was no need to rely on her dialogue skills. In the later stage, Princess Jinan's lines would definitely need to be hired by a professional voice actor. He doesn't have high requirements for this girl, as long as her acting skills are passable under his own guidance. Today is Su Ling'an's first scene. To avoid making the girl nervous, he deliberately chose a relatively simple scene, and the person in the scene was Zhang Lingzi, who was most familiar to Su Ling'an. I was already prepared to play NG several times, but now looking at the natural performance of the 2 people on the monitor, and the extraordinarily smooth and not dry but emotional lines coming from the radio, Wei Xiao suddenly felt that he had found a good idea again. Okay, this one is over, let's take a rest and prepare for the next one. As soon as the director made the decision, the whole crew breathed a sigh of relief. They all know that Su Lingyan was dug out by the director from the family members of the visiting class. He himself has just graduated from high school, and it can be said that he has never been exposed to acting. If this happens frequently, not only will the actors themselves suffer, but so will the staff. With the weather being 38 or 9 degrees, who wants to be with NG all the time? Many people have even prepared heat stroke medicine in advance. After the director shouted stuck, Zhang Lingzi was withdrawn from the plot. Although what she is acting now is almost all what she has experienced in her previous life, it is precisely because she has experienced it that she understands better that this is now, and she is not someone who just dwells on the past. On the other hand, Su Lingyan, who was still holding a teacup in his hand, had not yet been able to get out of it. Zhang Lingzi was not in a hurry, waiting for the girl's eyes to slowly regain another level of clarity, and praised, "Good acting." Su Lingyan put down the cup in her hand and pursed her lips, wanting to say that she wasn't completely acting just now. She really had a feeling of déjà vu just now, but she didn't know how to say it. It showed on her face that she was a little dazed. Until Wei Xiao called people over with a loudspeaker. Zhang Lingzi walked over with Su Lingyan, walked to the monitor and reviewed the scene they had just performed. After watching it, the two of them were asked, "Have you two played against each other in advance?" Although it was a question, Wei Xiao's tone was very affirmative. Zhang Lingzi. This really doesn't exist. In fact, even she didn't expect that Su Lingyan's first scene would go so smoothly. So the two people who were asked shook their heads. Wei Xiao. It's rare to guess once, but I guessed wrong. It seems that Anan is a natural talent for acting, he sighed, and couldn't help but suggest, Anan has finished the college entrance examination and hasn't applied for school yet. Why don't she just apply for the Imperial Film and Television Academy? I'm still a member of the academy. Where is the honorary professor? Wei Xiao felt that Su Lingyan had some talent in acting. He remembered the lines well and was in good condition. However, he didn't expect that this girl shook her head at him seriously and declined politely, "Thank you, Director Wei, for your approval, but I don't plan to apply for the exam film and television majors." Wei Xiao, then what major are you going to apply for? Computer. Wei Xiao. Zhang Lingzi, who was listening to the conversation between the two. Back to the resting place, the two of them drank some water, and Zhang Lingzi opened the math textbook, which she had reviewed for almost a third of the time. The main thing is that the content in the front is quite simple, but it becomes more difficult as you get to the back. Fortunately, she has a tutor beside her who takes the initiative to send her up. As long as there is a question that she is not sure about or doesn't understand well, she can ask Su Lingyan and she will be sure to get it solved. Because she also plans to take the college entrance examination and has learned a lot about the many majors in the university, Zhang Lingzi thought about the question she had just answered from the Director of Health when she received Su Lingyan's detailed tutoring. With such good grades, it would be a bit condescending for a girl to study a major such as acting. I heard that a computer major, which is very complex and suitable for smart people, is very good. Of course, no matter what Su Lingyan wants to learn, she supports it. Director Wei feels a little regretful, so let's go with it, since she won't dissuade her anyway. End of this chapter. Her Majesty the Queen has become a god in the entertainment industry. Author, Press 11. Chapter 220. Having rested for half an hour, the scene of the second scene has been changed. Zhang Lingzi put down her exercise book that had just been marked with red ticks, and stood up with satisfaction. She has always been strong, and the same goes for her studies. There must be nothing wrong at all. Speaking of which, it was also the first time she actually participated in filming, and she realized that the filming was not at all in the order written in the script. For example, she had just filmed her daily interactions with Jinan, and the next scene was the male and female protagonists playing chess in the palace and discussing the current court situation. After changing into a more formal robe and hair crown, Zhang Lingzi had just walked into the hall where the shooting was taking place, when she saw Shen Yunqing, wearing an iconic purple official robe, sitting there waiting at the go table in front of the window. Then I saw the director, who moved a chair and sat next to me. He was wearing shorts and short sleeves and holding a big cattail leaf fan in his hand. Such a comparison, she quickly turned her attention to another figure that was more pleasing to the eye. Aware of the sound of footsteps, Shen Yunqing was sorting the chess pieces. His hands did not stop and he raised his head to look in the direction of the palace entrance. The light shines through the window, creating a staggered pattern of light and shadow, which shines on the face and body of the visitor. For a moment, he almost ignores the various modern machines and people in the hall. When I opened my mouth to say hello, I almost shouted "Your Majesty" directly. Director Wei is here to talk about the drama. Zhang Lingzi lifted up her robe and sat down opposite him. Hearing this, she asked, "What show are you talking about? Does she and the person opposite need extra drama? I know that you two have always had a good understanding of each other." Wei Xiao shook his big cattail leaf fan and pointed at the chessboard in front of him, "But I'm always serious about filming, so you two know that." "So what? So you can't play Go randomly during filming? By the way, do you two know how to play Go?" Hearing this, Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing couldn't help but look at each other and nodded almost at the same time. "Wei Xiao, understand, how much do you understand?" Zhang Lingzi, "It's okay." Shen Yunqing, "It's acceptable." Wei Xiao, who thought he could play a temporary guest role as a Go teacher, said, "No, you can show me how to play first." Zhang Lingzi took the chess basket handed by Shen Yunqing, stretched out her hand and pinched out a piece. As expected, it was a white piece. She was always the first to move forward, and she did not hesitate to place her chess piece on the chessboard at this moment. Shen Yunqing held the black piece and fell immediately. After watching the two of them play a few games, Wei Xiao was sure that his hero and heroine could indeed play Go. But after he continued to read, after a while, he raised his hand and rubbed his temples. He opened his mouth several times and then closed it silently. It was true that the two of them played too fast, and he could no longer figure out why Bai Zi had taken this step, and what kind of game He Zi had set up. At this point, no matter how unbelieving he was, he had to admit that the two players in front of him were playing back and forth, and their level of Go was much higher than his. Is this okay? This is acceptable? He doesn't even know these two words anymore. Zhang Lingzi also played this game of chess very happily. Since she ascended the throne and became the emperor in her previous life, not to mention there are not many people left who can play chess with her. Among these few, only Jinan and Shen Mocking will play seriously with her. The others are cautious and cautious. It's not very interesting either. However, Jinan's health is not good and he gets tired easily after playing chess for a long time, so she can't bear to let this girl get tired. She is the one who has played chess with her the most, and he is the only one who dares to beat her and can beat her. After arriving in this modern era, she found that there were not many people who learned Go, at least none of the people around the original owner had learned it. Even if she wanted to find someone to play to enjoy the game, she would have no opponent. This is the first time she has played chess since she woke up. There was something wrong with Shen Yunqing, who was sitting across from her and playing chess with her. Zhang Lingzi looked at the black and white chessboard, then looked at Shen Yunqing's face. "Your chess style." After Shen Yunqing dropped the ball, he looked confused. "Huh?" Zhang Lingzi shook her head. "It's nothing. Just act, let's see who can act better than whom." It's just that their words woke up Wei Xiao, who was still studying the chess game fascinatedly. "Ahem, if we keep going it will be noon since you both know how to play chess, let's start shooting directly." He stood up and picked up the chair, consciously walked out of the camera and returned to his monitor. Just as Zhang Lingzi was about to pick up the chess pieces that had fallen on the chessboard, She saw the chess basket on the right hand being taken by one hand. Then Shen Yunqing started working with his left and right hands, skillfully picking up the two colored chess pieces and placing them in their respective chess baskets. Speaking of which, although she usually likes to play chess, she is impatient to clean up the chess pieces on the chess table, so the palace servants often come to clean them up. But now there is no palace man, or the extras playing the role of the palace man have no arrangements to clear up the chess pieces, so this job was naturally taken over by Shen Yunqing. Wei Xiao didn't notice that one of them was busy picking up the chess pieces and the other had both hands idle. He raised his loudspeaker and shouted from a short distance away, "When we take pictures later, just show the chess game you two just played. How many mistakes will you make? It doesn't matter if you're tall, as long as you don't forget your lines." In his opinion, a chess game as difficult as just now requires a lot of thinking, and what he requires is that while playing chess, a large section of lines in the script must be spoken completely. It is always difficult to use one mind for two purposes. It is best to use a chess game that has already been played. This will undoubtedly make it easier to play. Zhang Lingzi and Shen Yunqing did not say that playing chess would not interfere with reading their lines. They only nodded in the direction of the director. Wei Xiao was immediately relieved and said, "Okay, let's get started." Asterisk. Beirong is so ambitious that I want to conquer it myself. What does the Prime Minister think? Shen Yunqing looked at the white stone that landed on the chessboard, which seemed to be full of murderous intent. He was not surprised at all that the person in front of him did not do what Director Wei said. After all, the original game of chess was probably affected by His Majesty's state of mind at the time, and he played it with particularly murderous intent. Furthermore, His Majesty never likes to play the same chess game. This game is naturally different from the game in the previous life. The only thing that is the same is the momentum of the white stone falling on the chessboard. There is widespread opposition from the government and the public, but I think Your Majesty has made up his mind. I really can't tolerate Beirong running around blindly under my nose, so this battle is inevitable. What about the Prime Minister? Do you dare not persuade him, or are you not ready to persuade him? I will help Your Majesty guard the rear area. It was not that I was afraid, nor was I unprepared. Even though I was worried about the decision to go on a personal expedition, what I said in the end was still just a reassuring assurance. After saying this, Shen Yunqing added another sentence silently in his heart. It was then and it is now. His Majesty, all you need to do is follow your own will and move forward boldly. Zhang Lingzi's hand holding the chess piece paused. This sense of familiarity that made her feel more trustworthy. I thought I would live my whole life again, but I would never feel it again.